All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a huge question today, one that really gets to the heart of any democracy. When it comes to elections, is the umpire, the one in charge, actually playing fair? At the end of the day, a democratic contest is built on a really simple but powerful idea. And it's this: everyone, doesn't matter if you're powerful or just starting out, has to be treated exactly the same under the rules. That's it. That's the foundation of a fair game.
But, and this is the big but, what if that umpire, the one person whose job it is to guarantee fairness, seems like they're actually playing for one of the teams? What happens then? Okay, so before we dive into the problems, let's just lay out the ideal situation. What is the job of this neutral umpire in a democracy?
Well, that umpire is the election commission. Their one and only job is to make sure that everybody, I'm talking from the biggest, most powerful party all the way down to a brand new candidate, plays by the exact same rules. Their loyalty isn't supposed to be to any team, it's to the game itself, to fairness. And the rule book is super clear on the really bad stuff, right? We're talking about things like hate speech, trying to bribe voters with cash, or using government cars and buildings for your campaign. The idea is simple. You break the rule, you get a penalty. It shouldn't matter one bit what color jersey you're wearing. So that's the ideal. But what if that's not what's actually happening on the ground? This is where we get into a really serious and recurring complaint that puts this whole ideal to the test. The material we're digging into today points us to elections in Meghalaya, where this one accusation just keeps popping up again and again, that the rules aren't being applied to everyone equally. It's like the umpire's whistle blows super loud for some teams, but for others, it stays completely silent. Okay, so here's how the complaint basically works. Let's break it down. Scenario 1. Imagine a violation is reported against a big, powerful party. A complaint gets filed, maybe even with solid proof. And the result? Well, according to these claims, what often happens is nothing. Just crickets. The game just goes on like nothing happened. All right, now let's flip that coin. Same kind of violation, but this time it's reported against a much smaller party. And what happens now? Well, the claim is that the outcome is totally different. Action is fast, penalties are handed out, and that right there, that sharp contrast, is the whole foundation of this complaint. So how can you actually spot this kind of potential bias? And maybe even more important, why does just the idea that the umpire might be biased matter so much? Look, this isn't just about feelings or he said, she said. The source material suggests you can actually find clues in the data itself. You just have to look for a pattern. I mean, think about it. If you see, say, 100 complaints filed against one group and almost zero penalties, but then a smaller group gets hit with consequences for every little thing, well, that gap starts to tell a very interesting story, doesn't it? And this is a great way to visualize that gap. Now, this is just a conceptual example based on the complaint, but check it out. Let's say a huge chunk, like 80% of all complaints, are filed against the ruling party. Logically, you'd expect the number of actions taken to be pretty high too, right? But what if only a small fraction, say 15%, even get a formal notice? And then an even tinier slice, just 5%, actually result in a real penalty? Whoa. That massive drop-off from complaint to consequence, that's the statistical red flag we're talking about. And this, right here, is why this is so important. This is bigger than just one election. Because when people start to believe the umpire is cheating, they stop trusting the entire game. That fundamental trust in the whole democratic process, it just starts to crumble. Okay, but here's the good news. You don't have to just take our word for it, or anyone else's for that matter. We're about to shift gears and give you a toolkit so you can become the investigator yourself. Yep, you heard that right. The whole point here isn't to hand you an answer on a silver platter. It's to give you the tools to go find the facts for yourself. This is all about empowering you to be your own fact checker. And it's actually pretty straightforward. It boils down to 3 key steps. First, check out the official websites. Second, talk to the people who are paid to know this stuff, local journalists and lawyers. And third, use a really powerful tool to get the data straight from the source. All right, so let's talk about step 1. You head over to the State Election Commission's website. What are you looking for? You're basically on a treasure hunt for a few key documents. First, the total number of complaints filed. And then, the really important one, action taken reports. These reports should tell you exactly who was complained about and what, if anything, happened next. And for that third step, filing a right to information request, or an RTI, This is where you can get super specific. You can ask for the actual numbers. How many complaints did you receive? How many warning notices did you send out? How many police cases or FIRs were actually filed? And here's the kicker. How many of these cases actually ended with someone being convicted or disqualified? That's the real bottom line.
So, at the end of the day, once you have these tools and you start digging into the data, it all leads to one place. The verdict? Well, it isn't for us to decide. It's up to you.
So let me ask you something. Just think about your own town, your own constituency. In all the elections you've seen, can you honestly remember a time when a really powerful candidate or a ruling party leader got hit with a serious penalty for breaking the rules? Or does it always seem to be the little guys who get in trouble?
Okay, let's make this real. Imagine you have a video on your phone, crystal clear, of a supporter of a powerful minister handing out cash for votes. A total slam dunk violation. Now, be honest with yourself. Do you actually believe, deep down, that the Election Commission would act on that and act fast? Or do you have a sinking feeling that your complaint would just vanish into thin air?
Because this really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? If the punishment depends not on what you did, but on who you are, on how powerful you are, who you know, which party you belong to.
Well, then is it really a democracy in spirit, or is it just a democracy on paper? And that's a question that's way bigger than any one election in any one place.
So, we've laid out the tools for you to investigate and the questions you should be asking, because a healthy democracy really depends on its citizens being vigilant, on being umpires themselves, in a way. The final verdict isn't ours to give. It's yours. So, what are you going to decide?